officially less than 1 hour away from the NHL trade deadline, and the Minnesota Wild have already made a boatload of moves, with more coming. And the question is now, who will it be? They got what they needed. They got their winger. They got their depth. Now it still just seems to be that one big slot down the middle in a possible top six, middle six option here for this team. But with less than an hour left, and many reports saying that the Wild may be done, I firmly believe that they are not. And there's a few things that can, make sense why here. And I'll explain that here in a few moments. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to this trade deadline stream. Like I said, less than an hour left, and we still have a lot of stuff going on with this team. They've added, they've got what they needed. They're looking good and ready to go. And at this point right now, I think it is just certainly something that Bill Guerin, John Hynes, this team is waiting to see what other options are out there and what will come in the next, 58 minutes from this point right now. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what are your thoughts so far on this deadline, because I think there's a lot of things that many people were hoping for, some that didn't happen, some very unexpected stuff, and I mean, the Bobby Brink one certainly caught me off guard, but I do think that the Wild are actually still going to try and get a center, and I'm not going to say it's a big name, because I still, I'm a bit hesitant on that, but the big thing that the Wild did is they kept their first round pick. They kept that pick that, their last one in 2027, but they also have Charlie Stramel. I think there's a few options. I think that Charlie Stramel still is being dangled as a legit trade candidate. But I think that they're also interested in having him as a legit option later on in the season as well. I think there's two options. I really don't think Bill Guerin is rushing anything. I really hope Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly, they exactly, you're saying there in the chat. Like, I appreciate all you guys being here as well, by the way. First legit stream on the channel that, we haven't had it breaking news with Quinn Hughes or nothing. So, this is, a little test run here for right now. But I'm thinking Ryan O'Reilly or Steven Stamkos are the best options. And there's a few that kind of go about that. Because, you're looking at, and I have some stuff here that we could be looking at. Down the middle, it's still not deep enough. Even with Michael McCarron, even with Nick Foligno coming into this lineup, I don't think it's deep enough just yet. I still think there's a lot of questions that are going to be asked if this team has the depth to do it. If this team, is deep enough for a playoff run. That's still the question. But with Bobby Brink, with everything here, I think they did get their offense good. And of course, there's names that are out there that are very improbable at this point, and Vincent Trocheck being one of them. Unfortunately, David Pagnotta tweeted this out earlier. All indications that the Wild are out on Vincent Trocheck. And they're shifting their focus elsewhere. And this came out after all of the trades. So that, again, is another thing to me saying that this trade, or something is brewing for this team, that before they finish off today in 56 minutes time, and you see here on the main one, the camera is, or the clock is counting down with what's happening. That is the exact time that the deadline is. There still seems to be something that could happen. And yeah, Michael Russo also thinks they're out. He tweeted this out earlier today, not earlier today, about an hour ago at this point. It was 2 hours and 13 minutes till the trade deadline, so a little over an hour ago, saying that he's not expecting anything else, but there still is a lot of time. And ladies and gentlemen, I think there's a lot of stuff going on, because we can break down what we have, but I want to see. I'm here with the stream hoping that this is going to be the case, because like I said, the trade chips are still there. Realistically, the only one that left was David Jiricek. I don't want Adam Banak traded. Ryan Hartman is still here. Charlie Stramel, that 2027 first-round pick. What everybody thought was going to be the assets going away, and still could be a Steven Stamkos, a Ryan O'Reilly trade, or even for Vincent Trocheck, they're still here. So that's why I think that something still could be coming, but I'm also curious to see if Charlie Stramel's, availability in the NHL is a big thought for Bill Guerin now as well. So what are you guys thinking? What trade possibilities are out there? Is it feasible to go get Austin Matthews? Atlantis, I'm not going to say that right now. I think, maybe later on, but right now, I think the Leafs are still trying to stay afloat over the next couple of seasons. But anything can happen. I really do think anything can happen. I think it's pretty much confirmed, if not 100%, that he's not going to be traded at the deadline, although there was a few rumors floating around with the LA Kings. But I just can't see that happening this quickly for them. And they did beef up their roster as well, trainer. Yeah, I think that this roster is certainly good enough for a playoff run. And I like that they did go ahead and get, what do they have now? Almost 5, 6, maybe even 7 centers that can jump in the middle at any given point. That will work. But I still do want to see this team be able to go out here and have that guy that you say, hey, there's 5 minutes left in a Game 7 in the playoffs. You're going to be here. And that's what Vincent Trocheck was for Team USA in the Olympics. He was on the ice for just about every faceoff. He'd come off immediately. Something like that, to me, could be an option, but even then, I think that there's someone that can be added to this Wild team still to, make that happen at this point. Yeah, and Vincent Trocheck is out either way. I think that's, regardless of what happens. I think Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos are the 2 options left. But I still wanted to put, as you guys see in the thumbnail, Vincent Trocheck there because he's still an option. He still is. And, it seems like they're out. It seems like they're shifting their focus. But if the Rangers really do end up wanting to get rid of him, even though they've come out and said that, hey, we're not going to be doing anything. We're not going to be, making a trade. They're in a different rebuild. They're ready to go. They're looking for something. They may actually end up doing it, and I'm kind of excited to see how that would indeed kind of play out. But Ryan O'Reilly, and I as well on that, I see you guys asking where he'd play. I'll pull up the lines again. I do think Ryan O'Reilly would probably be a line 2 center. He's playing line 1 right now, I believe, on Nashville. Correct me if I am wrong, but I really see Hartman moving to the wing. His faceoffs have not necessarily been the greatest, and having him back on, his natural position on the right wing, being kind of a guy that is just a pest, that's a very, important role when it comes down to later on in the season. And I think he is someone that we're just waiting to see that happen with. And given the way the Central is playing out, you need that kind of guy, especially with Dallas, Colorado still being ahead here in the standings. But Kadri as well, an option, Oscar. I think that Kadri, less than all of them, and I still do have this list that you guys have seen in these last couple of videos of the sheer amount of centers. There's a lot of names here. I think Trocheck, Kadri, Robert Thomas, and Elias Pettersson are really the only ones whose prices are too high. A lot of guys on this list are gone. This is a bit of an older list at this point right now. It's a little bit of an older list. But you're still seeing O'Reilly, Stamkos. I mean, Shane Wright is an option. I don't think the Wild even go after him, though, at this point. There's a few options that really, could be serious ones, but I think a lot are just not in the price tag for the trade deadline. But certainly could be when it comes down to an off season. And yeah, like a 44% face-off percentage is not going to cut it, especially in the playoffs. Mr. Tonic, I absolutely agree with that. So it would make sense for him to move back to the right wing. And yeah, I mean, Matthews would be incredible to see in a Wild uniform, but that option, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I feel like when it comes to the offseason, I think we're going to see it actually pretty soon. A lot sooner than some people may expect, is that when the Maple Leafs really start to realize that they're bad, they're terrible, they're garbage, you may see him on the way out. I'm going to fix the chat here really quick as well. Oops, sorry, folks. I'm going to move it over to a little bit. I see some of the names getting cut off. There we go. Once again, the first stream since the Quinn Hughes stuff here on this channel, so I am still tweaking a few things. The timer's running down. The subs are good. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, you want all your Wild news, like I say in every single video, be sure to hit the sub button. You guys know we're posting daily everything on the Minnesota Wild. I mean, I think I've had about 10 videos over the last 3 days. It's a wild time, but appreciate all you guys being here because this is certainly a very important time for this team. Looking at the past couple of seasons when it goes to the playoffs, we've always kind of had an expectation, had a hope, but we've never been at this point with a team. At least what it feels like to me when it goes out of it. But kind of going back to that Ryan Hartman topic as well. You're exactly right. He's a great playoff player, but he just can't play center. You know, I don't mind him playing center if he needs to fill in, but it can't be a full-time thing, and that's why this list here I think is so important for Bill Guerin and the Wild to really take a look at. And this, like I said, this is a couple days old. Some of these names are now gone, but this is from TSN, so this is their list here. 1 through 47. You see a couple numbers cut out. That's because they were either wingers or defensemen at that point. But kind of looking at the chips again. I just saw someone in the chat, Efan, you saying, do you think Wallstedt is off the table? I do. I don't see Jesper Wallstedt really being an option right now. I think this team is recognizing that they're going to need both guys. That's what I've been hoping. I've been saying for the longest time, I hope we don't see Jesper Wallstedt traded because I absolutely love him. But this is, a huge... Whoa! Braden Shen to the Islanders. Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm just checking in as well right here on my phone. That's where I'm getting all my notifications. So making sure we're not missing anything. I did get baited. Efan, you just baited me very, very bad for Charlie Coyle. But, he's also an option that's been floating around, although it doesn't seem like the Blue Jackets want to actually trade him. Now, Georgie, Zuccarello, Stamkos, and Kaprizov, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I see as a legit playoff, first line. But imagine that on a power play. Imagine that on a power play with Boldy as well and Quinn Hughes. Something along the lines of that. That would just be unbelievable to see on a power play. That would be one of the best, if not the best, in the NHL when it comes to playmaking ability, puck control, and shooting, all on a special team. So that makes a lot of sense to me, and I certainly like how that does play out. But when it comes to Wallstedt, I'll get back to that because I kind of lost my train of thought there because Efan completely baited me on the Coyle report. Wallstedt can't go anywhere. I mean, you look right now, the difference between Wallstedt, Gustavsson, the contracts. Yes, Gustavsson has an extension. It's not going to matter. Those two goalies, the price combined for I can't remember what it's going to be. I think it's around $9 million. Those are completely fine contracts to have for a tandem of two elite goaltenders. If you're paying some goaltenders around the NHL 11.5, you keep both when you can. And if the price gets too extreme in a couple years' time, that's when you do it. But right now, at this year's deadline, I think prices are too high to trade Wallstedt when you could likely do it to make more sense to get better assets in the summer. So right now, doesn't seem like there's going to be a Wallstedt trade. I certainly hope not, but I don't want to count it out for the future. And let's hope not as well. No updates still. I should bring up my tweet deck on my monitor, but that's fine. I get you guys in the chat anyways. If Stamkos is on this team, Ethan, you're saying we'll win the cup. I certainly think so as well. I don't want to get over my head because, we've never seen it, but that would be the best chance, I think. There's two options, and when it comes to Ryan O'Reilly, he's a bit of a different one compared to Steven Stamkos. Different play styles, but both 35 and 36 years old, respectively. Or, not career years, but you wouldn't know if they were in their prime for majority of the players. So, I like the idea. Wallstedt and Hartman for Jack Hughes in the summer. Riley, if that worked, that would be an incredible deal. That would be really, really good. The only thing is, I think you need to add a little bit more, but, if it works, it works. That's all I'm going to say, because that'd be really cool to say, really cool to see. But, Goku, appreciate you watching in school. You should focus on school, though, but, we got 45 minutes left. That's not going to hurt anybody, would it? No, the trade deadline right now is pretty important for this, especially for this Wild team, so I think you're going to get a pass for that. That's all right. But a package for Stamkos, Oscar, I think would really kind of center around either Well, the first round pick, I think, is fair to say right now, but maybe Charlie Stramel. I don't think both. I don't think it would be Stramel and a first. I think it would be one or the other, and maybe some younger players, since Nashville's completely blowing it up. And on that topic as well, I think it was you, E-Fan, a couple minutes ago said, do you think Stramel will make his debut this year? I do. I do think he will later on in this season. Maybe not, a long-term playoff option, or I think he will stay around, but I don't know if he would stick in the lineup. But I think, no doubt, when his, MSU career is over, he'll come here and, for a couple games at least. So I'm interested to see in that. And like I said, having him as an option later on in the season in the playoffs, I think also gives Bill Guerin a bit of confidence that he doesn't need to go out and get too many young assets when there's a bunch that are coming in. Still no updates. And, I see a lot of you guys saying as well that, there may be no moves. Michael Russo saying that's exactly what he said. He said, as of this moment, which was about an hour and a half ago now, not expecting anything else, but at that point, he tweeted this 2.5 hours till the trade deadline. So there's no doubt in my mind that Bill Guerin's still floating around to see what can happen. But while we're at it, I will go over a couple moves that were made. And, still keep an eye on everything, still keep an eye on the moves and whatnot and discuss what's going on. But Michael Russo announced it earlier as well, the Bobby Brink trade, a very, very big one that sent David Jiricek to the Flyers. That was kind of a crazy one right away, in my opinion, because the way that David Jiricek was playing, I thought it may be a bit of a challenge to get someone like Bobby Brink, especially 1-for-1, but you cut your losses on it. You get Bobby Brink. I think that's, at the end of the day, exactly what you need, exactly what this team is looking for when it comes to a top 6 option, but middle 6 guaranteed. And he's just a great player. I mean, he's very consistent. He's been very, very good throughout his career and only getting better. The big thing is he's 24 years old. Him and Matt Boldy have a lot of chemistry. That was spoken about, and something to keep in mind that if they play on the same line, that could be a very dangerous thing. Georgie, that's a good way of putting it as well. I don't think that New Jersey specifically will be looking for Wallstedt and Hartman, but certainly could be an option that they actually do, trade him eventually if, something goes. And I think that the Quinn Hughes effect is legit too. So that could be something that, hey, he wants to go play with his brother. That would make sense. Reports are saying that Hartman isn't moving. That's an interesting one as well because, I didn't see him being traded personally because I think the playoffs are an important part for his play style in specific. But I didn't know when it came down to it if the cap would have been something that they needed to toy around with or need to retool. And I have the cap here, 5.25. I believe that's changed a little bit down to $5 million now with, actually probably less now actually with Nick Foligno here. Nick Foligno's contract came in full. That's why I was thinking someone may have been moving out. And of course, Hinostroza was moved out, a few other moves. But with this, there's still room to make something happen without getting rid of anything necessarily. Now, that's really a perfect price for Trocheck nearly, even though that is no longer an option for those who are just tuning in. All indications are that the Minnesota Wild are out on Vincent Trocheck, and the focus is shifting elsewhere for the Rangers. So that's, one thing to keep in mind, especially when we come down to the last 40 minutes here with a center still being, I guess, in need for this team. They have plenty. But do they trust the depth that they have and the quality up top in a deeper playoff run? Because we got to keep in mind who are playing in the playoffs. Dallas, Colorado, likely that would be the pathway that you'd have to take. So you need to get as good as you can right now. And I see a lot of you guys asking about Nick Foligno as well. I really like Nick Foligno. I think that he is a perfect option. And I think there's going to be a little something special between him and Marcus. I think the way that, these two guys who are, I'm not going to say, near the end of their career, but like at the tail end, they're on the older side. They know they don't have too much longer left in the NHL. This is the first time they're playing with each other in the NHL. There's something special going to happen between those two, regardless of who plays or not. I think Marcus Foligno will certainly be back in the lineup when healthy. Nick likely will be here, maybe not an everyday regular, but there's something special going on, and I do have this here as well, somewhere right here. The call between the Folignos. This came out from Michael Russo earlier. Nick called Marcus a half hour before the news broke and said, I'm going to a new team. Marcus was like, oh, congrats. That's awesome, though. And he's like, I'll see you in a few hours, is what Nick said. That's just, that's crazy to me. It's a very, very cool moment to, to see from an outside, knowing the stuff that these two guys have done over the past couple of years, especially with, like, their foundation and whatnot. So I'm super happy for them, super excited to see it. So, that's just a pretty cool update to throw on top here. And when it comes down to, the rest of it, a lot of still moving parts, but Vinny Hinostroza out, Bobby Brink in, Nick Foligno in, Michael McCarron in, Robbie Faber claimed. There was a whole lot of moves, and even with what this team has, still could be more. Robert Thomas, I think, is a no-go, unfortunately. As much as I would love Robert Thomas, I think that, first of all, his price is way, way, way too high. But, as Airstar says there, I don't think that the Blues want to trade interdivisional, even though they would get a lot in return. I think that's, kind of mutual. I don't think that Bill Guerin and the Wild would want to give too many assets to the Blues that you would see multiple times a year and eventually could just completely, destroy your team in years to come. Yeah, and the difference between Thomas and Trocheck is, their stats. It's not a whole lot, but Robert Thomas, I guess younger, good contract a lot, is just an absolute astronomically high price. So I just don't even think it's an option at this. Sturm, Hartman, Lambos, and a couple of draft picks for Stamkos. I don't hate it. The one thing that I really like Nico Sturm for is his Stanley Cup experience. He has 2 Stanley Cups to his name. That's not easy to come by in today's NHL, and especially the emphasis he has and provides to this team, not necessarily on the ice, but in the locker room. I think that's a very important part of where this team is today. So even if he's not necessarily in the lineup, I think keeping him on the roster is a very important thing. And on that roster topic, one thing that I did want to discuss before we jump into some more stuff is that you see right now, the active roster for the Wild is currently at 25 of 23. As of last night, midnight, there is no roster cap anymore. So you can have as many people on your roster as you want, as long as you have the space for the cap. So it's a very positive thing for the Wild, and we've seen quite a few of the events that this team has carried. Maybe 2 extra defensemen, an extra forward, and whatnot. So this is very good for them, especially with a few players who are a little bit injury prone, and hopefully, that clears up now, and especially going towards the playoffs. But yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. And for Lambos, I see a lot of people saying his potential. I think Lambos can be a legit defenseman. The only thing is that the left side right now is quite full. I mean, you're not taking Quinn out of the lineup. You're not going to take Jonas Brodin out of the lineup. Jake Middleton is super solid on a new contract. I think the next opportunity that Carson Lambos would have, because I don't think they're going to play him on the right side, I think the next opportunity that he has is if Brodin retires or leaves after this contract, or if he gets traded at some point. Other than that, I think he's going to have the weight, and that's why I think he also could very, very well be in a trade package for somebody, because you got to think, David Spacek as well, Jack Pert, Stevie Leskovar. There's a lot of guys down in Iowa that are super, super young, but have a lot of potential. Jonathan, do I think we're going to get a centerman? It's kind of weird to say because, this is a whole stream about talking about the trade deadline, but I don't know. I really do hope, because we're seeing stuff like this from Michael Russo. I do apologize for those of you who've been here since the start. Want to make sure that everybody's staying up to date and caught up with where we currently stand. But Michael Russo tweeted out about an hour and a half ago that he's not expecting anything else from the Wild, but there still was some time to the deadline, and we know that Bill Guerin is not going to just stop, when he thinks that he's got enough. He's going to patrol this market until the deadline comes in 35 minutes and 40 seconds, so there still can be a centerman, because there's a great list out here, but is there anybody that will make a significant impact in, I'm going to say, the top 9? That's the biggest question at this point right now. And as he's been saying, the patience is the biggest emphasis that he has. Let's just say a Robert Thomas doesn't get traded. Let's just say Jack Hughes becomes available in the offseason. Let's just say Vincent Trocheck doesn't get traded, and in this offseason, he's back on the market. I think the Wild and Bill Guerin feel more comfortable than giving up assets, knowing what they have and what they won't have to make that move, while also not giving up players right now on this team that are going to make an impact in a playoff run. And, given how all of these guys kind of work out, they're important to the team. So it's tough to kind of go about this and say that they're going to make a big move for a centerman at this deadline, but for sure they will be doing it, before next year's deadline. I know it's a big window, but I still think this is going to be one where every single opportunity they get to see a trade, they're going to be doing it. And Georgie, absolutely. Brody needs to stay healthy. I think that's the biggest thing in question. And it wouldn't surprise me that if we do see an opportunity for a Lambos to get called up, he may. Damon Hunt has been on that left side for quite a bit this season when Brodin was hurt, or, whoever it may be at the time. Petrie is now there for that right side, and I think these are the 8 defensemen you're going to see come playoff time, bearing any injuries, and let's hope we don't. But I really do think, as a 9th kind of defenseman option, it will either be Spacek or Lambos, and I'd say depending on what side is kind of lacking that extra man. It really seems like this is going to be their final defense for the year. And I'm okay with it because, you got your good mix of defense, offense, two-way, big bodies, physical. It really is just a perfect match for what they need to do. And Lambos does have that pick potential as well, Apple. It's still there. He's not old yet. He's still been here for a long time. But it's just a matter of time until they do it. All right, do I think the Wild will make a trade before the deadline ends? I'm going to say they make one more trade. One more trade. I don't know what it'll be. My guess would be for another center. But we'll have to see. Because they do have a lot now. They do have quite a few. I don't know on this list if it shows them all. Sturm, Yurov, Eriksson Ek, Hartman, McCarron, and we can go to this one here, which has Nick Foligno on it. You have Foligno listed here as a left and right wing, but did play center. So they have options, but do they have enough? That's the biggest question. Do they have the biggest ones available? No. But do they have what they think they need to be able to get to a deep playoff spot? Maybe. Joshua, bring back Eric Haula. Eric Haula is an interesting option. I actually didn't realize how solid he actually was this season, and you can see it right here. He is right at the bottom. 9 goals, 30 points in 60 games. It's not bad, not horrible though. And I think the big question is, will Nashville, be willing to continue trading internally? I think that as long as they can get assets, yes. But if I'm with Nashville and if I'm in conversation with Nashville right now, as I hope and assume Bill Guerin is, you got to go for one of the big guys, O'Reilly and Stamkos, and I think Eric Haula should be your third option. Okay, Joshua, you just took the words right in the mouth. Absolutely, yeah. If it falls down to it, I think he could be a very good option. Atlantis, I don't think Sidney Crosby is possible at this point. He's hurt, yeah, but I think that the Penguins are trying to do what they can. There was a lot of conversation earlier this season and, at the offseason, a lot of links to the Montreal Canadiens. If he were to be moved, I think it would be in the offseason. And yes, Airstar, good shout there on that. Didn't dive into it too much. Braden Shen was indeed traded. A first, a third, and a prospect going back. Any other? There is another trade. Nothing major, though. The Blackhawks traded Aiden Thompson to the Rangers for defenseman Derek Pouliot. So, still no Wild move with 30 minutes and 50 seconds left to go. But Braden Shen going to the Islanders now shows the, the one option, I guess, that is left for the Blues, which is really, Colton Parayko's not going anywhere. If they were to do it, getting rid of Robert Thomas would help us out a little bit, even though they're still not a great team. And who just said that? Georgie, Eric Haula. I'll tell you what right now. I will pull up his stats. I'll get them in our in our graphic, and I will pull it up, and we can see what his faceoffs are, because I actually don't know immediately off the top of my head here. Okay, we don't have him in this graphic because he's listed as just a forward, not a center. But, I mean, Erik Hall's been very solid this year. I think there's no doubt about that. You know, time on ice is a little bit wrong here as well. It's calculated wrong, so we're going to get that fixed. I do apologize. But, 31 points, 94 shots, 21 assists, 10 goals. Can't really complain about that as an Erik Hall, middle six option center maybe. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I think that'd be an interesting option, but it's still the big guys. I think that's what it is. How expensive Trocheck? Sounds like I'd rather have O'Reilly. Yeah. So for those who missed it, this is the latest on Vincent Trocheck, is that indications of the Wild are out. The deal from Emily Kaplan, what she put out yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago at this point, was a first, another prospect or another pick, and Charlie Stramel. Makes sense the Wild don't want to give that up. It's a very good player in Vincent Trocheck, and I think Vincent Trocheck is literally still the perfect fit for what this team is looking for. I mean, a 57.2% on the faceoffs. But right now, as it stands, the price is too high. If it drops within the next 29 minutes, we may see the Wild make a move, but still, prices are crazy high. Yeah, and Mr. Tonic, I mean, very, very difficult to be disappointed with the trades this year, because we got to remember, it was only December 12th we traded for Quinn Hughes. So that was really the big thing. That is exactly what this team, started off in this foot. And, we still have next year. And with where we've been, I don't want to jinx anything. I'm going to knock on my desk, knock on wood, that the latest update on his side of things was that Michael Russo said he'd be very shocked if he didn't sign an extension. So that's where I'm going to leave that, because right now, they're still trying to get guys to say, hey, Quinn, we're trying to win here. So although, this trade deadline has been, a very busy one, you still haven't seen that big boom, but we had that earlier in the season compared to many other teams. And yeah, Erik Haula is a decent playmaker too. He fits exactly what the Wild would need in a non-top center role, but regardless of where they want to put him, he's a real good option. And yeah, that was the big thing as well about Trocheck that you see there. Not worth all the assets. Had they have more, could have been an option, but I don't think they want to give up Charlie Stramel, Adam Banak, those two, real top prospects that they have that are about to come into the system. They don't want to give those up, and they also don't want to give up that pick where, you have no first rounders for the next 3 years. So they have no first rounders in this year, next year. They have no second rounders in this year, next year, the year after. They don't want to give it all up. They don't want to spend everything right away. If Jack Hughes somehow gets a blockbuster here today, ends up the Minnesota Wild, I don't know what I'll do. We'll have to do something. I don't know what it would be. Miku Koivu. I mean, if worse comes to worse, we may have a Philip Rivers situation on our hands. I think that's where we kind of stand on all of this. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're currently sitting at 250 viewers. Thank you all for, joining the stream here. We got 26 minutes left until the trade deadline. Still a lot of stuff coming. The Wild have not made a move just yet for the remainder of the day. But we do have an update, I guess, from Michael Russo. Bobby Brink is likely to start on the right wing with Urov tonight. They're debating who's on the left. McCarron plays center tonight, and he says, I'll tweet the lines out during warm-up. So keep in mind, there's a game tonight as well. We're going to have a video after the stream. So that's where we currently stand. So, Charlie Stramel. Will he join the roster for playoffs? I think it's a good chance. He may not be actually on the roster necessarily, playing, but I think he'll be an option that they're going to consider if he does work out, towards the end of the season. Yeah, so let's go back to those lines real quick that we do have here. Big thing as well. Good point. CKG. Zuccarello may retire. That's a thing. Let's hope he don't. If he could take a Mojo deal, that'd be absolutely incredible, because the way he's playing, you could see the age, but I wouldn't mind him on a minimum. That would be something that I'd be completely fine with. What was he going to do? The lines, yeah. So let's take a look at the lines here really quick, based on what we saw from Michael Russo moments ago. Bobby Brink is playing alongside Yurov here. There's still no, this is actually how it's going to be working out, I would assume. I would say not going to change the first or second line. They still don't know who's going to play on the third line, left wing, whether it's training or not, still to be determined. Michael McCarron is playing center, so maybe we see Hartman in the wing. We don't know just yet. There could be a few changes coming, and about this, but interesting start to the tenure that we're going to see with Mr. Bobby Brink on the lineup, because I think he's going to be a very good player for this team, and I do not know if I have it here. Actually, I do have some quotes from Nate Thompson and Eric Johnson talking about Bobby Brink, and you see this here. Nate Thompson, he's a really smart player and competes. He will be an underrated acquisition come playoff time, which is, I think, exactly what we all wanted to hear, and especially in a deal for David Trocheck, someone who really has not played much of a role, if any, with this Wild team. Seeing this is a very good sign. Eric Johnson has something very similar to say. It's a great move for the Wild. I played with Bobby, and he is underrated. Defensive game has improved a ton. Can trust him on both ends of the rink. Great kid. So, some veterans, some, long-time NHL players. Great stuff that we're hearing from Bobby Brink on this side. But he's going to be a very interesting player to watch, especially tonight. Yeah, Tarasenko is going to stay on the lineup this year. I mean, there's no way that they're going to do anything with him. He's going to still be here. But next year, I think odds are probably won't be here. I mean, unless it's, once again, a minimum deal. But who knows? I think there's still lots of time. I think a change of scenery for Bobby Brink is going to be very good as well. So, given, the Philly situation over the past couple of seasons, they haven't necessarily been great. Throwing him in this lineup with someone he's had a lot of chemistry with the U19 U.S. National Development Program exhibition games. He's played 5 games, 3 points in that with Matt Boldy. I'm interested to see if that does become a line at all, because I would be absolutely on board with that. And Finley as well, I think there's a few changes that are still going to be made. So I'm not going to count it out for, the season. But as things kind of go, I don't mind the look of it. And I mean, I'll pull the lines back up here as well. Yurov Trenin, having Bobby Brink, maybe switching him with Tarasenko could be an option later on. I don't think it's going anywhere, because it has performed phenomenally in a bunch of games here over this season. That's also a possibility, Airstar, that, we just simply see Vladimir Tarasenko retired. He is old, so, that's a thing that also is a possibility for this team. What do I think the odds are of the current Wild team making the finals? It's tough to say, because, we've never seen it. We've never seen this team, like a team like this for the Wild, first of all, but we've never seen this team get to that point. So it's going to be a challenge, but, Efan kind of gave a good point. Without that number one center, and I think Eriksson Ek can become that come playoff time, but without that, bona fide stud, it's going to be a challenge. I do think they can do it, though. I also did miss a comment as well that I was going to answer. No more trade expected, Gabe. It's not so much no more trades expected. Michael Russo said that, but I'm kind of hoping there will be. And, obviously, I think that's me kind of being a content creator wanting some as well. But I don't know. I just see Bill Guerin seeing so many options still left on the table. And, I mean, you're looking at the trade deadline right now as who's left with 20 minutes remaining. There were so many big names on this deadline, and a lot of them have not even been moved. So I'm wondering right now if Bill Guerin is sitting with the remainder of this team and, saying, hey, let's get in contact with a few teams here, because there's a lot of guys still available. But it's, very well could be over at this point right now. Tarasenko is not signed for next season. He is indeed not. You can look right here. 2 of 2 UFA, 4.75. So I wouldn't mind him on a minimum. Once again, I think a lot of these guys on minimums could just be great depth pieces, depth options. But right now, it is what it is on that side after this season. He is 34. I think, he could be an option for the KHL at the end of this one, but I'm fully unsure about what the plan would be for him. Like Tarasenko, though, like, his game is different than Ryan O'Reilly and Stamkos. I should mention that. I feel like Tarasenko is more of a playmaker, and I feel like you lose that a lot quicker than your shot and your grit. And Ryan O'Reilly really has that grit, and Stamkos still has a lethal shot. So, like, I think where you saw Tarasenko in his prime with the Blues when he won that cup, that was his prime, and you're still seeing O'Reilly and Stamkos be really good. So, I don't mean it like old. I don't mean like an old person, but like kind of an older game, I should say. JGS, you can't be disappointed with this, though, because this team got a lot better. It really, really did get a lot better. I mean, you got rid of David Jiricek, who's done nothing. You added Bobby Brink. You have now Nick Foligno joining Marcus. I think there's going to be a lot of chemistry there, which works out, to a not necessarily for the on-ice thing, but as a whole for the Wild, that's going to be a major bonus as well. Michael McCarron is another option. There's a lot of really sneaky good additions, but it's not any name that will kind of blow you out of the water. I would also very much rather have Hartman than Stamkos, but for the role, I think Hartman may be a little bit more important. That may be a brazen take, but Stamkos is certainly someone that I would like to have. Any updates on Brodin? Atlantis from the last we've heard, he's still fine from last game. He did return, and the lineup still on Puckpedia is looking the same as it will be, I guess, for the the next little bit. Jeff Petrie, I believe, is going to be here tonight. Not playing, of course, but Hughes, Brodin, Middleton, Faber, Spurgeon, Bogosian, but it still is a thing that we need to keep in mind that if Brodin feels anything on an injury side, I would be very okay with taking him out of the lineup for that game, so that is not something that lasts very long. Yeah, Bobby Brink, you got to think, if he were to go to any other team, he'd have a lot of value. There's a lot of players now that are getting astronomically high prices, and I think that Braden Shen got a first and a third out there on that. So, you'd really see there how high the prices are. So, you're getting back quite a few. You get Damon Hunt back on, a waiver claim. So, it's, makes sense. I gotta say I like it. Stamkos, what are we talking about? I don't see nothing on my end. I don't see anything from my sources. What's going on? Don't bait me again. I already got baited. This stream once. I'm not seeing anything from Michael Russo. I'm not seeing anything from anybody else. My notifications are not happening. McCarron and the Folignos on the same line would go crazy. I would love that. There's nothing yet. Someone in the chat, who was that? It's Apple Season. It's Apple Season said that Stamkos. Bang. No. We're getting baited. For the time being. Jaden, I would wait on the Bobby Brink jersey until next season because he is an RFA after this year. I don't see the Wild trading him again, but you never really know. I always think that, this time is best to, it's best to wait. I wasn't me. I have the proof. I see it in the chat. Oh my God, Stamkos. Bang. Oh man, I'm getting baited bad this one. How long after the deadline would we know if a trade happened? They trickle in for about an hour afterwards. But normally, right after the deadline is when we see, there's a pending trade call. So, we'll know pretty soon. But we won't be, fully giving anything right away. Shane Wright would also be a sneaky pickup, I agree, but not right now, I don't think. Off-season, absolutely. But I don't want Shane Wright to be an option, now that this team gives up too much and they put a lot of pressure on him. Yeah, future considerations, that's exactly right, is like either something to be named later, which usually ends up being really nothing at all, or something so minor that it never gets reported, but it's basically just saying, for free. That's the best way of putting it for that side. If nothing else happens, Vince saying, if nothing else happens, how much has our face-offs improved? They've gotten, pretty good. They've gotten pretty good. I'm not going to say they're incredible because it still is an issue, but we look at the lines. I mean, Michael McCarron, it is okay. Nico Sturm's, I believe, 55% on the faceoffs. Last time I checked, he was 55.7. But it could be a lot worse. Nick Foligno here as well. So they could have done nothing, but you're still missing out that big name. But if Bill Guerin said that the patience was the big thing, I trust him. I absolutely trust him. It's all the Hughes brothers on the Wild. I'd love to see it, but I think it'd be very difficult. Making sure. Still no updates, but 14 minutes left. A little under 14 minutes left on this. Prediction on how the Wild season will go. How deep? I do think that it will be... I think no matter who they play. I think they're going to get through the first round, whoever they play. Or they are indeed putting McCarron at center. Now, you see here on the Puckpedia list, he is not, but Michael Russo tweeted out about 15, 20 minutes ago that Michael McCarron will be playing on center, Bobby Brink will be playing on the right of Urov, and whoever's on the left is to be determined. So, I'm assuming it's going to be fourth line center. Maybe Sturm comes out. Not really sure how that's going to play. But give me your guys' predictions as well for the playoffs, because I still think a lot of people, don't have trust, don't have a trust in this team, don't trust the team, and Mr. Blackjack says a first-round exit. We can't say that, man. We can't say that here. Please don't let it happen again. I don't know how much more I could take of Minnesota losing in the first round. But, it's going to be... It's going to be an interesting playoffs. I am also going to check Twitter. If you're seeing me looking down, I'm looking on my phone just because I'm trying to see if there's any of these, rumor report style of accounts saying anything. Detroit Red Wings have emerged as front runners for Justin Falk. Nick Dowd is not going to be in the lineup tonight for Vegas. That's good for us. Is there anything else? I mean, there's not much, even from these rumor accounts or anything, or, the accounts that just kind of repurpose people's, quotes. And from Pierre LeBrun on Trade Center, nothing on the Robert Thomas front right now, and that was 6 minutes ago. Michael McCarron is a solid face-off guy. He absolutely is. And the big thing about him is, he is legit massive. He's a guy that you do not want to have to go up against. So, I can't complain about it. Any injury update for the roster? That hockey guy? Not yet. I mean, we can look at this right now. Foligno, Johansson, and Marcus Foligno, all, out for tonight's game. Well, Nick Foligno not here yet. Marcus Foligno likely missing quite a bit of remainder of the season. Not necessarily until the playoffs, for sure, but it's going to be quite a while. Johansson didn't make the trip. He's missing this game and next game, I believe, and then he can return. Those are the latest that we have, and that was still from yesterday. So, unfortunately, I do not have any update on them. Hartman for Rossi, that would be an absolute robbery. That would be a robbery. If we were to trade Brodin, what could we get? It's a good question. I honestly don't know how much value Jonas Brodin would hold to some other teams. Because he's a bit injury prone as of late. He's older. 2 years left on his contract. Contract is good, but he's very, very solid. He is very, very solid. So, I really don't know. That's a good question. And it's also because we haven't seen a Jonas Brodin trade rumor or like a report in a while, so we don't really know exactly how long. Caleb, I think Marcus Johansson, is too good to to sit. He may be a little bit off and on at points, but he's been very, very good. So I don't want to say sit him, but I'm curious to see if Bobby Brink does eventually get that first look in the top 6 and maybe move him around, move Tarasenko. I don't know. I don't see Robbie Faber as an everyday player also, but he's a great player that I think we could see here. So a lot of stuff that I think over the next coming games we'll have to see how they do play out until we actually see everything, work out and what we know we have. Yeah, I do completely agree with Bradley Schneider. Everybody, if you haven't already, be sure to give the stream a like, hit the sub button. We're currently 9 minutes away from the NHL trade deadline. We have a few trades that are going to be trickling after, likely, but so far, none of the big names have really gone today, apart from Braden Shen. So I think that there still is a big chance the Wild can be on this. However, and a big however, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. And another update from the Red Wings. Don't mean to bait you guys, but Justin Falk seems to be, heading there at least right now. Is it wild to say that I would not mind Jonathan Toews on this team? Then again, getting a Toews would be missing out on just, or I shouldn't say missing out, but having about 5 bottom 6 centers, and like you see Kyler say there, we need to bring in a number 1 or 2 center. Now, whether or not it's this trade deadline, to be determined, but at the bare minimum, you have to do it in the offseason. Oh, Airstar, 100, man, it is ridiculously overpriced on the market right now. I think that's a big reason as to why we're not getting Vincent Trocheck, and for those who may still be seeing that right now, this is the update for Vincent Trocheck. No, it's not. This one is right here. That all indications are that they are out. And, certainly seems Vincent Trocheck is staying with the Rangers. Just then, from David Pagnotta, he said, as mentioned on air earlier, sounds like Ristolainen is staying in Philly. The Canes are likely out on Trocheck and looking more like he stays too. But there are still 10 minutes to go. That's a big thing as well. I'm going to just call your name Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild. One thing that makes this Wild team be able to get past a first and second round without the centers is when you see Jesper Wallstedt and Filip Gustavsson on their game. I think any goalie who is on their game with a solid, doesn't even need to be good, solid team in front of them can beat Dallas or Colorado, in a series. It will be tough, though, for sure. And Stanley as well. I did mention this a few minutes ago as well. Do not want Stramel to be traded. Really do not want Stramel to be traded because he's a guy that I think eventually will become a possible number 1 center on this team. But that still is, that still remains the biggest question. Still no updates. 6 minutes. I mean, time is moving in slow motion right now because we're still waiting to see. And there sounds like some teams are already getting their press conferences ready. And that is one thing that I think we can basically wait and go off of. Is that when we see a press conference from Bill Guerin, that's when it's counted. That's when it's up. That's when it's done. Lambos a third for O'Reilly? I mean, I would love to do that. I think that would be a steal of a trade, but I just don't see Nashville doing it. even though Nashville is, I just can't see Nashville saying they're blowing it up and not trading Stamkos or O'Reilly. That makes no sense to me. That makes zero sense to me because, for those who watch the videos where I've spoke about Stamkos and O'Reilly, keep in mind, Barry Trotz is stepping down. Barry Trotz is the GM right now. He's looking to find a new GM after this. But right now, they're just looking to get rid of everybody. So, I don't know. I really don't know what that team is doing right now. Where, I guess they can they are under contract, so you can probably get a bigger value player eventually, but I still think they could have been smart to make a move. One Matt Barzal, please. One Matt Barzal? Two Matt Barzal, maybe. That Avs game, I think, was a good tell as well. That first one back from the Olympics. Yes, they were on the second half of the back-to-back. But they looked, the Wild team, they looked good. They looked really, really good. So that's why I think, regardless of who they have, who, is bound to, they're bound to play, there's always going to be an option that this team has to win. And Viking guy as well. That's a good point. I am going to have a look at the rosters on Puckpedia, or the lineups, for Colorado and Dallas, just to see what their outlook is on their players. So, where's their depth charts? Right here. Nick Waugh on the third line. Is he really a difference maker? I don't think he is. He's good. Don't get me wrong, he's good. But I think what the Wild got is much more impactful to this team than what Nick Waugh will be to the Colorado Avalanche. We go look at Dallas. A very similar lineup. There's the good lineup anyways, but Michael Bunting, I don't know. I still think the Wild got the best part of it. I mean, if we're looking apple season at Schaefer as well, count me in. Appreciate you for being here, Vincent. I know the chat's not updating on the screen, but I still do have it on my my other monitor here, so I can still see it. But appreciate you guys for joining in. 2 minutes left until the deadline. We're seeing nothing right now, but at the end of the day, I think it looks like we're good. Bit off topic, but who do you have winning the Australian GP? I've got Verstappen taking it. It's a good question. It's a very good question because, not NHL talk here, but the Ferraris look good in FP1, so I think we're going to have to see, but I'll discuss that here in a bit with you guys as well. But McCarron's going to be really fun to watch because we're not playing against them. That's a very good point, fan as well. Okay. These are updating now? Yes, they are. Kyler Murray. How about we get Garrett Bradbury back? How about that? How about we get him back to play center? For the Vikings and Wild. The last minute countdown, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, and you are excited for this final minute of the NHL trade deadline and seeing if anything trickles in as the time goes down, be sure to give this stream a like. Give it a follow. Give it a subscription. Wherever you're watching. I know this may be getting posted to Facebook later. I'm not really sure how that works. But this is a very, very big trade deadline for this team. And as of right now, 30 seconds. This team, bearing any trades coming in after the deadline, will be locked in for the playoffs with likely a few additions coming from college. Charlie Strand will likely being one. mean, it's apple season. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but you're not wrong. 10 seconds until we take a look at what our lineup is. I mean, I don't know why it's like the door is shut in a second. The trade deadline is up, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make this big so it's not like... Oh, whoops. There we go. Let me do this. Let me do this. Oh my goodness. Oh my. Hold on. There we go. The trade deadline is officially up. So, thoughts on the deadline. Give me your thoughts on the deadline. Because right now, what we are seeing is some filtering through over the next little while because there is an influx of people trying to call the NHL and get their trades finalized. So right now, give me your thoughts. I don't know if I have a CTA. Will this one work? It does not. Be sure to do this, though. 3,770. You guys are absolutely incredible. Like, look at the count of subscribers that we're seeing difference here. 3,777 to 3,830. I appreciate all of you guys watching here. This is the first long live stream we've done, a minute and an hour so far for the deadline. Let me know your thoughts. Give this one a W, an L, or an N. An N means you're neutral. An N means you don't care. In the words of Troy Dan, another Canadian YouTuber. But let me know what you thought about this deadline because I'm giving it a W. You know, we didn't get that big name. We didn't. But if we look at the roster, and yes, we didn't get what we needed, but the one thing that I think Bill Guerin has been very, very on top of is patience. Patience. If it comes down to next year, if it comes down to free agency, whatever it may take, I believe Bill Guerin is still, regardless, going to be looking for a center. So even though we didn't get it now, even though we feel like we all really, really need it right now, I can't complain. Endless Bane, there's a very good chance you will be right. But I think before the Wild lost so much value, they had to make this trade. I think the smartest thing to do was keeping their young players. Obviously, I think I didn't want to see Charlie Stramel go. Didn't want to see a first. Didn't want to see Wallstead go. So it makes a lot of sense. But right now, with the values being too high, Bill Guerin, I think, made the smartest move. Airstar, that is exactly what we need to see right now. I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. That is exactly what this team is looking for right now. This is now the kind of the final team that we're looking at. An update for those who are still, looking at the trade deadline stuff. Bobby McMahon is going to Seattle. Justin Falk is going to the Red Wings. So big updates there. Yeah, that's why I'm going to stay here for a little bit. I'm not dipping out just yet because trades can still trickle in. Exactly. We're looking at the trade right now. The Wild didn't trade any, super good assets, and they got better. Any post-deadline rumors, Vince? Let's have a look. And I'm going to quickly jump on Twitter on my computer. I've been doing it on my phone, so I can just stay up to date with the chat as well. But right now it looks like we're done. And the one thing that I just need to wait for, confirmed, done, it is official. The Wild are done for the day, according to Michael Russo. I will put this right here in a very quick graphic for us, and we can pull up that right here. So I'll still be here for a few minutes, so be sure to stick around. We have a little chat about this deadline too, because I didn't fully jump into it. I have a lot of screenshots I wanted to pull up here about how things are working out. Is this the one we're looking at right here? Michael Russo. done for the day. So, given that for the Wild, seems like the prices were too high. That really seemed like the consensus behind all of this, that, Vincent Trocheck was not an option at this point. Sucks to not see the Nashville guys. Sucks to not see, Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos here. But the way that this played out, the way that this deadline worked, this team got better without losing. They got better without losing. They didn't give up any top assets. They didn't give up any, realistically, they didn't really give up any top picks. They got a second, or they got rid of a second to get, Michael McCarron. I think that's a more so of a need for the, Marcus Foligno being out. But still, I'm giving it a dub, but I'm going to have a video for you guys very, very soon. I want to see if any other deals are trickling. Justin Falk, Bobby McMahon. Those seem to be it right now. A first and a third from Detroit for Justin Falk, and a second and a fourth for Bobby McMahon. I mean, you're looking at those two options. Those were expensive, guys. Those are expensive for those guys. So, kind of putting into perspective, it really does make sense that this is a bit too much for the price tag on this. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, appreciate all of you guys being here. I mean, your support's been incredible. I think we've gained, 50 subs here in this video. And for those of you who are here, who are new, who are joining, even right now with the Devils. I read Jordy's chat. The Devils are done at the deadline. For those of you who've been here for this hour on the deadline, I appreciate all of you guys. Trades can trickle in still, but the Wild are indeed done. So I'm getting a video up for you guys. I want to get up to date, want to give everything that we know for this deadline here in a video, but I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to be getting more streams. May do a few, watch-along type streams and stuff. We got some setups for those that kind of want to get rolling. Only thing is, blackout stuff on the TV. Tough to watch, these games live, so I'm going to try and do it. But once again, I can't thank you guys enough for being here throughout the hour. First real live stream. Second, if you count Quinn Hughes' trade. But if you want more, be sure, if you're here right now, give it a like, hit the sub button. Let me know in the comments below if you do want any. But thank you guys for being here. Pretty big deadline, and be sure to tune in to this video that we got in, coming in about an hour, I'll say. Let things cook up a bit and see where things stand. But thank you guys for